Welcome to the second YouTube video of our 14 by 22 foot Providence and Worcester short line HO model train layout. The layout is now substantially complete and recently received a NMRA Golden Spike Award in September of 2024. As with any layout, our desires are constrained by space, time, and money. So you will see locations, track design, and industries that are not necessarily in geographical order or accurate. In addition, we've made an attempt to be somewhat prototypical for the broad area we covered, circa 1960 to 2020. But the layout contains both whimsical and non-prototypical design elements. For me, prototyping is a concept, not a religion. In the layout, you will notice the absence of weathering. I prefer the clean look of non-weathered locomotives, rolling stock, buildings, and landscape. In this overview, you will review the basic design from a construction and electronics perspective, plus visit about 30 key elements on the layout. The video is a combination of train videos and still pictures to give you an excellent feel for the breadth and depth of the layout. So let's get started. The layout depicts fall in central Massachusetts. The geographic locations include the southern terminus of the Providence and Worcester Railroad, road marked PW, in Providence, Rhode Island, to central Massachusetts headquarters of the PW in Worcester, Mass., to the northern terminus of the PW in Gardner, Mass. The main level design is set at a base height of 44 inches, with elevation changes up to 49 inches of height for various track or terrain elements. The overall track design is a folded dog bone with a center peninsula. The layout is built with Code 83 track, with Pico's Flex Track and Waller's DCC friendly turnouts. Turnouts are number 6s for the R's, number 8s for the main line, and number 10s for the high-speed crossovers at the interchange track. The minimum curve radius is 30 inches, with the exception of the reversing loop, which is 28 inches. The maximum grades are all set at 2%. In the design drawing seen here, the base level main line is noted in blue, the main line track with elevation changes is noted in yellow, and spurs and yards are noted in red. The purple color denotes the location of the reversing loop. The location of various key industries and scenery elements are colored in green. Track power isolation joints are shown in pink. Connected to the layout via 2 helixes are 4 hidden staging tracks about 9 inches below the main layout. This provides over 8,000 scale feet of track for storage of locomotives and rolling stock. The hidden staging is meant to represent trains going off to Boston, Massachusetts to the east and Albany, New York to the west. In normal operations, I keep 3 passenger trains and 4 freight trains located in the hidden staging. They are sequenced and moved to the layout as part of the operations program built in the JMRI Operations Pro application. Each of the hidden staging tracks have power isolation switches so they can be turned on or turned off when needed. At any given time between the top layout and the hidden staging, there are approximately 30 locomotives and 200 pieces of rolling stock staged and used for operations. The layout construction began in September of 2022. It is the 4th home layout I have constructed over the last 2 decades. I was assisted in the electronics design by the late Larry Eggering of Creaky Chair Modelers. As you can see from the photos, we started with a blank slate, and through the use of the Railroad Modeler Pro application designed for Mac iOS, we did a preliminary design for the layout. Modifications to the original design were made over time to accommodate for track changes to enhance operations and to accommodate realistic placement of structures and roads. Benchwork is primarily 1x4 inch lumber with 1/2 inch plywood for the base. In addition, 1 inch of structured foam was placed over most of the plywood base to support scenery design and installation. We began with the left helix and then worked our way around the folded dog bone to the second or right helix. The last area added was the center peninsula. Track operation for the helixes and hidden staging were constantly tested during the early construction phase to ensure flawless operation, no derailments, with both the longest and tallest locomotives and rolling stock. As part of the construction, LED lighting was installed under the layout to provide bright lighting for working under the layout during construction, and to provide better visualization with the installed camera system used to monitor the hidden staging. This is powered through a 12-volt DC power bus that is also utilized to power the 5 model train technology grade crossing signals. In September of 2024, the construction was essentially completed with all tracks, turnouts, block lighting, and grade crossings operational. The vast majority of all structure and scenery elements were also completed by this time. The Digital Command and Control System, or DCC system, used was Digitrax. Digitrax was selected due to its extensive capability and easy integration with the JMRI application. Digitrax is also the system used by my local model railroad club, and this was instrumental in getting technical assistance from other model railroad colleagues. The layout design has 10 power districts, 4 in the hidden staging, 1 for each track, 1 for each of the helixes, and 4 for the main layout. The main layout power districts are for each of the main areas of the layout: Worcester, Gardner, Rhode Island, and the reversing loop. The Digitrax control and power system design is framed around one DCS 210 Plus command station with 2 Digitrax DB220 boosters. One booster is located in an open cabinet on the left side of the layout, and the command station and the second booster is located in an open cabinet on the right side of the layout. All are connected via the Digitrax local net and have a common ground reference connection. The command station and 2 boosters each have attached amp and voltage meters to monitor electrical demand and performance of each power supply element. The command station and boosters are connected to the track buses via Digitrax PR74s, which provide electronic isolation and short circuit detection, along with auto reversing capability. A Digitrax UR93 is utilized for wireless controller capability with the Digitrax DT602D throttle. Also included in the starter program for JMRI Decoder Pro, we have included the Y throttle program, so visitors to the layout can control locomotives via their smartphones. The layout electronic design includes an isolated drive-on, drive-off program track to reduce the handling and 5-figure movement of locomotives. This also facilitates the programming and roster management of DCC locomotives in the Decoder Pro JMRI application. The program track has a 3-way switch which allows the program track to be in one of 3 positions: program track, off, or normal track power. When not used for programming, the program track makes an excellent location to store several locomotives. All the turnouts and crossovers are automated using surface-mounted ultralight 3.7G digital servos connected to Arduinos using the CRMI connection capability of the JMRI program. Each Arduino controls up to 4 turnouts/crossovers and are located around the layout in proximity to the servos and turnouts/crossovers that they support. The 17 Arduinos on the layout are supported by 2 5-volt DC power buses. The Arduino machine language program was written by Creaky Chair modelers and only requires very minor adjustment as each Arduino is added to the configuration. Surface mounting the servos in small 3D printed boxes makes for easy changeout if there are servo failures. This has been a rare occurrence. Easy concealment of the surface mounted servos is accommodated with basic scenery elements such as relay houses, relay boxes, ground cover, etc. Turnouts or crossovers can be controlled and monitored in 3 distinct manners. First, by throw-close commands from the Digitrax throttle or Y throttle. Second, from the JMRI Panel Pro program, which is projected on the large screen TV above one side of the layout. The switch is thrown or closed by clicking the mouse on top of the desired turnout or crossover element in the Panel Pro. And third, through the activation of the push-button switches located on the side face of the layout. The switches are grouped in sets of 3 or 4 by Arduino in location, and presented on top of an interpretive panel to allow the operator to visualize the correct position for each switch. Each push button has associated lighting, red or green, which shows the turnout or crossover position. An added feature of the interpretive panels is the identification of each mainline switch with a blue dot. This allows an operator to rapidly identify a switch associated with the mainline, and if all are green, then the mainline continuity is ensured. As stated previously in the command and control and the drive on, drive off program track comments, the JMRI Decoder Pro program is integrated with the Digitrax DCC system. JMRI is run through a mini Windows 11 PC connected to the DCS210 command station via a USB connection. This integration allows the programming of DCC locomotives and utilization of both the LocalNet and C/MRI capabilities of JMRI for turnout and crossover control. This integration also provides for the startup programming that sets all turnouts and crossovers to the desired position at startup. The Decoder Pro screen shown here displays the locomotive programming roster along with numerous quick link buttons across the top for access to communication, startup, preferences, and Operations Pro functions. JMRI Panel Pro is utilized to provide a virtual display of the layout and status of all turnouts and crossovers. Two panels have been developed, one for the hidden staging and one for the main level. The main level display is shown in this picture. As stated earlier, the turnouts or crossovers can be activated by clicking on the respective turnout or crossover with the wireless mouse. The turnout changes color to show status, thrown or closed, and connects the respective turnout or crossover to the through track. The visual display provided on the large screen TV by Panel Pro greatly enhances successful operation of the layout by operators less familiar with the layout design. They can quickly glance at the panel and determine the switch settings needed to support operations. The third major functionality that is utilized from JMRI is the Operations Pro program. This provides for the development of train switch lists to support realistic operations sessions. Through the programming of all locomotives, rolling stock, and their locations, a listing of associated routes and 27 trains have been developed to support operations on the layout. The layout has numerous electronic capabilities, including power isolation switches for tracks and hidden staging in all four engine houses, a drive-on, drive-off programming track, a fully automated reversing loop, operational 4-aspect block signals on the main line with integrated latching, 5 operational grade crossing signals, 1 operational gate grade crossing, and 6 hidden staging cameras for visualization of trains in the hidden staging and helixes. To help you understand the layout, note that the main line reversing loop and helix track ballast is medium gray in color. The yard track ballast is generally brown with a mix of oxide and cinders. This is to allow the operator to readily identify if they are on mainline or yard tracks. The tour begins on the right side of the layout. This portion of the layout represents Worcester, Massachusetts, and has the key elements of the Providence and Worcester Railroad Sturbridge Street Yard and several Worcester train-served industries, some actual and some whimsical. Yes, we know the real PW Yard in Worcester is called the Southbridge Street Yard, but one of my favorite locations in Massachusetts is Sturbridge Village, so I changed the name to suit. We first see the intermodal and autorack yards, with an intermodal operation taking place on the far right with a MyJack container loader. In the foreground, there are 2 intermodal crane tractors servicing the facility and stacking and unstacking containers. To the center, we see 2 autorack ramps servicing the various CSX and PW autorack rolling stock at the Worcester Sturbridge Street Yard. Our first video of the day is one of the largest trains on the layout, Train 17, the PW Intermodal train. It is a double-stack intermodal train with 14 to 20 intermodal well cars of various sizes and serves the various PW yards in the Port of Providence. It originates out of Track 4 of hidden staging, performs pickups and setouts on the main level, and then returns to the hidden staging. Here the train starts around the Worcester turn and heads north towards Gardner, Massachusetts on the main line. The train is powered by 3 SD70s and also has a flashing thread as an end-of-train device. One of the more complicated structures built for the layout was the United Petroleum Fuel Depot. It has both plastic and brass components and multiple high-level detail components that made the build very interesting. 2 fuel tanks have been added, along with a spill protection berm and 2 unloading loading stations. The depot spur is served by 2 tracks for tank cars of various sizes and road marks. Proceeding north on the main line, we come to the industry spur for Worcester, Massachusetts. This is a 2-track industry spur servicing the Worcester Freight Depot and the Redemption Rock Brewing Company. The freight depot on track 1 is served by boxcars, flat cars, and reefers. The Redemption Rock Brewing Company is the second industry on the Worcester, Mass. Industry spur. It is served by track 2 of the spur and provides for operations with reefers, boxcars, and grain hoppers. Look closely in the foreground and you will see a custom-built Sam Adams trailer being loaded with the local brew. As we come around the main line and continue to head north, we pass the Worcester Sturbridge Street Yard South Interlocking Tower. It represents the control of the crossover number 43, which is critical for movement of trains into the PW Sturbridge Street Yard onto the yard arrival and departure track. In the back of the PW Sturbridge Street Yard, we have 3 industries built into 4 backdrop buildings: the PW Worcester Freight House, Gold Medal Flour Company, and Dunham Hardware and Iron. This allows for operations with boxcars, reefers, flat cars, and grain hoppers. The crossover to track 2 of the yard, along with a pre-positioned yard switcher, allows for enhanced switching capability to support the 3 industries along with the intermodal and auto rack track. Our busiest engine house is the PW Sturbridge Street Yard Engine House, which accommodates a significant number of locomotives, cabooses, and maintenance away rolling stock. It has 2 engine tracks, 1 caboose track, and 1 maintenance away track, all powered. The engine house has lots of interior details, nicely lit by installed lighting, and both tracks serving the engine house are powered to allow locomotives to enter and leave. A sanding tower, sanding house, and fuel depot round out the support servicing the locomotives at the engine house. As we leave the PW Sturbridge Street Yard, we see the Sturbridge Street Yard North Interlocking Tower. The tower represents control of the yard lead entrance to the main line and also interlocking control of the yard ladder. For a good visual of the North Tower and engine house at the Sturbridge Street Yard, watch a PW GE-8 in the G&W paint scheme while a mixed freight consists northbound over the main line. Look closely and you can see a New England favorite, a Narragansett beer reefer, along with a custom-built white PW rear cupola caboose. Our next video shows a large PW freight train of 50-foot exterior post boxcars and 89-foot flat cars powered by a 2 locomotive consist of GE U23B diesels in the traditional brown and orange paint scheme. The train is heading down the main line and descending into the hidden staging. This provides a great visual of the PW Sturbridge Street Yard. Next, we pass Worcester Sand and Stone, which has the look and feel of a working sand and gravel yard. Track 2 is holding a 4-car kernel of open ballast hoppers, and the remainder of Track 2 and Track 1 have a variety of covered and open hoppers, cement hoppers, and one gondola. A great switching location for our hopper unit trains. As we continue to proceed north on the main line, we see the entrances to the Gardner, Mass. Main Street Yard and Passenger Station Depot. In between the two spurs is the Gardner Interlocking Tower. To the right is the left edge of the country store in Gardner, Mass. In the background, we get our first glimpse of the Worcester Union Station. The centerpiece of the layout is the Worcester Union Station. This structure has been crafted from the German Baden-Baden train station model, with some kit bashing of the center cupola to make it look more like the Worcester Union Station. The inside of the building is lit and very detailed, with passengers, station and kiosk staff, ticket counters, hot dog stand, newspaper stand, bench-style seating, and staff assisting the boarding process at either end of the building. In the foreground, you can see the Washington Square with its European-style clock kiosk. The aerial view of the station shows the Amtrak Lakeshore Limited train embarking and disembarking passengers and luggage. No layout would be complete without rail fans. So next on the main line is a rail fan gazebo built just north of the Massachusetts-Rhode Island state line. Today we have a PW MLW M420 in the original as-delivered paint scheme, passing the gazebo full of rail fans. Proceeding southward on the main line, we pass the Port of Providence Lighthouse with its working light and GP7 Conrail locomotive in the background. As we reach the Port of Providence, we see the harbor scene for the PW Port of Providence rail barge and its associated tug, the Linda Q. Linda Q has fully operational and custom-built navigational lights, and a blinking red flashing channel light can be seen behind the rail barge. The tracks of the rail barge are integrated with the Port of Providence powered tracks, and rolling stock can be picked up and set out directly onto the rail barge. A Port of Providence PW RS3 switcher with 4 idler cars is pre-positioned in the port for this purpose. The Port of Providence has its own single-engine house and is home to a PW MLW M420R, which can provide switching support for the port and locomotive power for the local Valley Falls Yard and industry switching. Next is a video of a CSX interchange train pulled by a CSX ES44AH locomotive in the Veterans Heritage paint scheme. This provides a great view of the Valley Falls Yard and a portion of the Port of Providence tracks and rail barge. After leaving the Port of Providence and turning north, the main line proceeds past the Woonsocket, Rhode Island Industry Spur, which serves the Woonsocket Plastic Pellet Transfer Facility, seen on the left side of the picture. This forward-facing industry spur is great for chemical hopper switching activity. Also on the Woonsocket Industry Spur is the Woonsocket Food Service and Cold Storage Facility. This industry provides switching operations for reefers and boxcars. Today we have a 40-foot Rutland boxcar and a green wooden REA reefer being loaded. Lastly, on the Woonsocket Industry Spur, we find the New England Wire and Cable Company. Remember this from the movie Other People's Money, starring Danny DeVito? This 2-track spur with outdoor crane provides a switching location for coil cars, flat cars, gondolas, and boxcars. One of the few total wooden structures on the layout is the Valley Falls Depot. This is a replica model of the Mayport, Florida Railroad Depot designed and manufactured by Jeff Barker from the First Coast Model Railroad Society in Jacksonville, Florida. The second large engine house on the layout is the PW Valley Falls Yard engine house. It has a detailed interior, LED lighting, and 2 powered tracks so locomotives can move both in and out of the facility. The engine house has a fuel service facility, sanding tower, sand house, caboose track with pre-positioned switcher, and a track to store our scenic steam train. One of our favorite scenery elements on the layout is the Rocky Acres Farm, complete with farmhouse, barn, cows, silo, vineyard, vegetable gardens, cornfield, and blueberry patch. We see our local farmers preparing for the farmers market. Haying operations are ongoing in the foreground. In addition, the local beekeeper is tending to his hives, which support the apple orchard at the rear of the farm property. Traveling north around the Woonsocket Turn, we see the scenic steam train descending down the long grade to Worcester, Mass. The steam train is a Bangor and Rostock 280 consolidation steam locomotive with 5 34-foot Overton cars kit bashed to the PW paint scheme and provided with interior lighting and passengers. We now come to the final portion of our layout, the Center Peninsula, which represents the northern terminus of the layout, Gardner, Massachusetts. Here we see the interlocking tower between the 2 spurs to the passenger station depot and the Main Street Yard. This is the Main Street Yard in Gardner, Massachusetts. In the background, you see the Gardner PW Freight House and Quashnick Printing Company. In the center and foreground, you see the yard tracks with their 2 crossovers. The Main Street Depot and a portion of the Main Street downtown area of Gardner, Mass. is shown. The Quashnick Printing Company is served by the Gardner Passenger Station Track 2 and provides switching activities for chemical tank cars for printing ink and boxcars for paper delivery and product shipping. With 2 pre-positioned switchers, the Gardner Engine House provides locomotive support for the local industries around Gardner, Massachusetts, and switching for the forward-facing spur, which supports the Consolidated Freightways transfer facility. The engine house is nicely detailed on the interior, including a wood frame structure and lighted inspection pit. On the far end of the Gardner Main Street Yard, we have the Consolidated Freightways open-air transfer facility. This is a fun addition to the yard and a challenge for operations with its forward-facing spurs. It provides an opportunity for switching boxcars and flat cars. Right along Main Street in Gardner, we see the Main Street Park with a bandstand, gazebo, benches, flowers, and pedestrians, a nice addition to the downtown scenery. On the second track spur to Gardner, Massachusetts, we have the Gardner Passenger Station Depot. The structure supports the MBTA commuter service at Gardner, Mass. And is detailed with passengers and train station support staff. The last video for the day shows the automated grade crossing at the Gardner Passenger Station along with the MBTA commuter train. The MBTA Purple Line commuter backs off of the main line and down the passenger station spur across the grade crossing and into the station. As it passes the precision detector just before the grade crossing, it activates the grade crossing signals and the arms will lower. When the commuter train pulls out of the station, it is no longer activating the precision detector for a period of 5 seconds. The gate arms will rise and the bell and signal cease. One of the late additions to the layout was the inclusion of the Sunshine Dairy Family Restaurant. This structure is meant to represent the family restaurant and ice cream store that my parents managed in Northborough, Massachusetts in the 1960s and 1970s. A Howard Johnson's restaurant kit was modified to provide the appropriate design and layout for the restaurant. The structure is detailed with an ice cream window, interior tables, along with a serving counter complete with customers, waitstaff, and interior lighting. The last structure visited today is the Standard Chair Company. During the early 1900s, Gardner, Mass. Was labeled as Chair City due to its mass production of chairs at this factory. The factory is located on the Gardner Passenger Station Spur and provides opportunities for switching of lumber flat cars and boxcars. A unique detail in this structure is the lit corner office on the fourth floor. Here our CEO is holding a board meeting and displaying production and sales charts on the back wall. So this ends our visual tour. We really hope you enjoyed the visit to our PW Shortline HO scale layout. Let's hope it gets you excited about model railroading and all its possibilities. Thanks again.